Nigeria's Minister of Solar Minerals, Dele Alake, said his ministry requested 200 billion from the 2024 budget for data gathering, which he said was part of his 7-point agenda to transform his ministry. This was part of day one of the sectoral ministerial updates for some ministers to mark the first year of Bola Tinubu's administration this month of May. Arise Business Correspondent Rotus Oddiri sent in the report.
Upload is small.
Bola Ahmed Tinubu, do solemnly swear.
The administration of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu of Nigeria is coming up on 1 year in office this month of May. The presidency organized a ministerial sectoral update where a number of ministers from the cabinet will inform the public of their achievements since being appointed. They gathered in Abuja with Federal Capital Territory Minister Nyesom Wike taking the podium first. He said his achievements included a promotional path to the position of Permanent Secretary for Civil Servants. He also discussed gender diversity in the ministry, commissioning of a rail line, and more security in order to fight crime in Abuja.
Under the FCT, when we came, civil servants were not in a position to put in their best. Why? There was no hope for them to attain the peak of their career. Mr. President approved the immediate implementation of that law. Today, we have FCT, Civil Service Commission. Today, we have FCT, Head of Service.
When asked about the rot in the residential area of Gwarimpa and residential housing being out of reach for everyone except the wealthy in Abuja, Minister Wike had the following to say.
We'll come to that. And how many months have we been in office? 9 months. Remember, it's just 9 months. And we cannot solve the entire problem at the same time. We are doing roads. We are reconstructing roads in Gwarimpa. We are doing that. That's to tell you, we have not forgotten Gwarimpa. If that's where you live, don't worry, your turn will come. Housing. Where corruption is in the land department. As I speak to you, as a minister, it's one area that I've been battling. But I will defeat them. Even to make land affordable for people to build houses, which is what we're supposed to do. Most of this land, one encumbrance or the other. Why? Double allocation. We're going to provide infrastructure and then build for them and allocate to the poor ones. Well, you will not determine and define who is poor in the right sense. So that we have that in our mind to build 10,000 houses, what we call the Read Hope City.
Up next was the Minister of Youth Development, Jamila Ibrahim. She talked about approvals she's gotten for some initiatives like 110 billion naira entrepreneurship project and said disbursements will commence in the coming weeks. She also talked about plans to reform the NYSC program. But she did a lot of stuttering, like here, towards the end of her presentation.
As we celebrate our first anniversary under the leadership of His Excellency, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, I reaffirm our dedication to empowering Nigerian youth, fostering economic growth, and building a more prosperous and inclusive nation.
The minister seems to have a problem with communication and energy, and this was pointed out on social media. The feedback was not good. Ortiz says she wasn't sure what she was saying. She stuttered all through. Toby said, I just switched off. So boring. No life from a supposed youth minister. And Benjamin said, even when she came to answer the only question thrown at her, she still packed her iPad, notepads, etc. just to jumble up words and leave.
Thank you very much.
Up next was the Minister of Steel Development, Prince Shuaibu Abubakar Audu. He was the only minister that mentioned the names of more than one other minister that he is liaising with. He also said the ministry is working to get the Ajaokuta steel plant back online, which will cost about $2 billion. He's trying to get the Russians back in the country as original equipment manufacturers to fix it.
I have been working very, very closely with the Minister of Works, Senator Umahi, so that we can provide iron rods to the ministry as part of the concrete road revolution of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. We're in the final stages of raising the financing. The local financial institution has given us a final offer, which I have done a cover letter and forwarded the relevant documents to the Minister of Finance to be able to take the financing on behalf of the federal government using promissory notes that will be discounted and provided for Ajaokuta to be able to get back on track in terms of the iron rod production. The second thing that we've done in that regard is we have had advanced discussions with the Ministry of Defense. So I have engaged on several occasions with the Minister of State for Defense, Governor Metawale, who is in charge of DICON. I've also engaged with Alhaji Badaru, the Minister of Defense, to work on using one of the engineering workshops or engineering plants in Ajaokuta to be able to produce military hardwares for usage by the Nigerian military to enhance our security situation.
The minister was asked why he's depending on foreign expertise, like the Russians, the Chinese, and the Indians. And here was his response.
Why are we not looking at Nigerian companies? Like I mentioned during my presentation, based on what technical experts have adduced and what they have seen and recommended, we need a minimum of $2 billion to revive Ajaokuta. I would say that, the local players don't have that kind of money. It's a significant amount of money. We're talking 3 trillion naira. It's a huge amount of money. Even if you try to raise it from local banks or local financial institutions, you struggle significantly. Hence why we're partnering with foreign companies.
Up next was the Minister of State for Petroleum Resources, Oil, Heineken Lopobore. He referenced a Rise News report from Kigali from the Africa CEO Forum, which featured Total Energy CEO Patrick Pouyan saying that Nigeria's unstable oil and gas policies meant it had lost out on investments, like the $6 billion deal that he's announcing in Angola this week.
There is always a new legislation in Nigeria about a new petroleum law. So when you have so in France we are accustomed, but we don't have oil and gas. In Nigeria, when you have a permanent debate, and it's difficult for investors who look for the long term to know where we go. And in fact, it has been bad, to be honest, because reality, unfortunately, I think that Niger Delta is the most prolific part of West Africa. But when you look what happened, because of this debate, there was not a single exploration well in Nigeria for 12 years. And so I'm working hard, and I visited President Tinubu. I will come back again tomorrow to tell him, okay, look, we fixed the gas, no, we need to fix the water. So that's important, to find the signal. There are countries which perfectly have integrate that. Angola, I will go to Angola and announce a very large project, $6 billion, beginning of the week, because there the framework is stable. So we know where we go.
The minister said he's spoken to Pouyan, then said more investments in Nigeria's oil and gas space are forthcoming. He mentioned a $10 billion deep offshore deal and another $5 million deal, but didn't want to name the companies involved. He also said that Angola should not be compared to Nigeria because Nigeria, as far as the oil and gas space is concerned, is superior.
I'm also very, very, happy to announce to you that we have a company that I don't want to tell you now, but there's a company that in the next few weeks will announce a $10 billion investment in deep offshore. They are all coming back. There's also another company that will invest about $5 billion. And these are not stories. But I don't want to preempt the announcement, so let it be that we announce it so that Nigerians will know that Angola cannot be compared to Nigeria.
When asked a question on why the Dangote refinery is reportedly importing fuel from America and why there are fuel queues in Nigeria and whether or not petrol subsidies are still being paid, here is the minister's response.
Let me say categorically that I'm not aware that Dangote has started importing importing crude from the US. On the issue of whether there is subsidy or not, I think that all of us in Nigeria know that from the very first day the president took hold of office, he said subsidy is gone. And I can confirm to you today that subsidy is gone. But officially there's no subsidy. Government is not paying subsidy. So please, I want that officially clear that there's no subsidy, in the country today.
Up next was the Nigerian Minister of Solid Minerals and Natural Resources, Dele Alake. He spent about 20 minutes talking about his 7-point agenda, which included starting a mining company from the government, but would have a majority equity stake given to the private sector. He also said his 7-point agenda included the need to gather big data, which would cost about 200 billion naira, and also the agenda included attracting foreign mining firms into Nigeria. He didn't mention any of them.
I did mention that one of the critical items of my 7-point agenda is big data gathering. And I gave the reasons that if you are serious about attracting investment into the sector, into the solid mineral sector, you must have efficient data, because it's the efficient data that investors will use to make an informed investment decision. And like you've rightly pointed out, it's very expensive business. Generating data is not just generating any data. Your data must be accurate. It must also be certified by international data certification agencies, so that your data would have international recognition. And it is only when that is done that investors all over the world will not think twice before coming into your environment to invest. And yes, you said it's very expensive. I agree with you, it's a very expensive thing. In actual fact, in the year 2024 budget proposal that we submitted, we put about 200 billion. We asked for 200 billion for exploration. And that is data gathering.
It is curious, though, hearing the minister talk about the need for 200 billion naira to gather big data on mining. Global consulting firm KPMG released a mining sector watch report on Nigeria in May of 2023. Here's an excerpt. FG, which is federal government, launches the National Geodata Center. In fulfillment of the FG's promise made in 2021, the Minister of Mines and Steel Development recently unveiled the National Geodata Center, located at the Nigerian Geological Survey Agency with an arm at the National Steel Raw Material Exploration Agency. The electronic data facility is expected to enhance the ease of online access to appropriate, reliable, and up-to-date geological reports and data about mineral reserves and/or deposits in the country. The facility, which can be viewed as an electronic geodata bank, is aimed at boosting investment decisions, research, and the overall ease of doing mining business in the country. KPMG said further that the initiative is highly laudable, given that reliable geological data is the foundation of any mining investment. They commended the ministry on achieving this feat. The NGC will no doubt increase the attractiveness of the sector to both foreign and local investors and act as a driver for economic diversification and assist in creating a globally competitive sector. This is the Nigerian Geological Survey Agency homepage, which shows existing research reports that they've already released. There's also a solid minerals development fund set up to invest in the sector. We can imagine that you're not going to invest unless you already have data. In fact, the Solid Minerals Development Fund and the Africa Finance Corporation, on the sidelines of the Nigerian Mining Week in Abuja in October of 2023, forged a strategic partnership to de-risk Nigeria's mining industry. Data, of course, is part of that arrangement. Finally was the Minister of Defense, Mohammed Badar Abubakar. He says oil production has improved thanks to destroying illegal oil refineries and arresting vessels involved in oil theft. He was asked why Nigeria destroys illegally refined and stolen crude, considering the impact on the environment. He said the Navy has brought that up and that's going to be addressed. All in all, there's no major achievements that were announced by any of the ministers. They spent most of their time reading the mandates given upon their respective appointments. Then they made more promises. 1 year has passed. By 2027, Nigeria's government will be focused on elections. That leaves the rest of 2024, 2025, and maybe the first half of 2026 to get meaningful work done that Nigerians can feel. Time is running out. Rotus Oddiri, Arise News.
On your mandate we shall stand.
I mean, Ayo, it's obvious that after 1 year, the ministers have done nothing. The administration have done nothing, and time is running out. I mean, look at Mr. Alake. That didn't even know that the partnerships were already done in his ministry as regards, data collection. They have set up a data center of some sort. They are still requesting over 200 billion. Look at the Minister of Youth. I was most appalled about that one.
Dr. Bio Ibrahim.
She couldn't even get anything out there, reiterating the mandate of the office. At this point in time, what the Ministerial sector prefers should not be about the mandate they give you. It should be about the processes you've articulated and the results and outcomes. Look at Heineken Lokobiri telling us puckies in the face. He said officially they're not paying subsidies. But you know that if we are not paying subsidies, we should have been buying according to the international price of 1,400 naira per litre. Look at your other African countries. Look at him. He said he has called Puyon. He has called Puyon. Yeah, where's the investment? You can't mention the name of the companies. So, he's telling us to our face that he didn't know Dangote Refinery is importing West Texas Intermediate foreign oil. If you say you don't know, so that means you don't know about what is going on in your ministry, in the country. Didn't you see the Reuters report that it says a ship was floating on the waters because they've not even been able to make payments, and Dangote is going through for a coup? He doesn't even know the challenges. So why is it that there's not been crude for Dangote Refinery? Because at first we're saying in this subsidy, part of the argument we made for this subsidy thing was when we remove subsidy, our refineries will kick in, we will sell crude to them at local rates, and they'll be able to get crude, or we'll be able to get crude to them at local rates, and they'll be able to get crude. But so he's not even aware that NNPC can even supply the crude needs, and that's why a refinery as Dangote is going to move on to buy crudes from abroad. So he doesn't even know that foreign crude, West Texas Intermediate is coming up, so he doesn't even read the papers. So look at Mr. Alake, probably the only person that we have seen some start and finish on some project is Nyesom Wike. In all fairness to the man, let's put
from
sentiment at that.
From yesterday
to only Nyesom Wike stood out. Only Nyesom Wike stood out.
But to be fair, the Minister of Defense did say something.
Okay,
even though he might have
defense, but largely
some of them might have hyperbolic,
but largely, even with Nyesom Wike, these are just projects that okay, the FCT gets budget for and things like that. We are saying thinking out of the box that we're able to bring. So in all fairness to Nyesom Wike, only him stood out. All the other ones, nothing to be achieved, nothing set in motion, nothing done.
So for the Minister of Defense, in fairness to him, he had talked about the number of terrorists that had been able to take out, including some principals. Remember, we'd mentioned some of them.
That's the he mentioned
commander
and all of that.
some leaders.
So what has been the knock-on effect as regards the security of the country? What has been the knock-on effect as regards farming? You see food inflation still going up. Farmers are still being hurt in some other parts. So what has been the knock-on? What has been the empirical effect?
All right, so I had to give it to him.
Abi was just reading newspaper headline that the military retail, we killed one commander, today we killed another commander. We see all of those reports every day.
He came with the Chief of Defense Staff, Major CG Musa, General CG Musa, and then he also came with some other, I think Minister of State for Defense as well was there. And in fairness to them, even though we haven't seen the wins in security as we want to, appreciable wins, there were some things that they've done. I mean, we talk about the rescue of about over 300 people from Sambisa Forest. We've had compensation for some military officials who lost their lives in the course of duty. We've seen some notable terrorists also being killed as well, and it's still room for more. I say this because in comparison to some others who came to give a reel of potential, and we will. That's because at least he can give some markers of definite things that they've done.
Some of them don't even know the things that are even going on in their ministry.
Yeah, that's the truth. That's the truth. So I was quite disappointed.
Because you see, my fear is this. 1 year is gone. These guys can't give any. And you see, with all this, I've been vindicated that President Tinubu ought to have sacked some of them about a couple of months ago.
Because there should have been
an evaluation. I've been vindicated, and when you look at it, 1 year is already gone. My fear is that by the end of next year, politicking will start. Some of these people you are seeing are already thinking of how to buy forms for governorship and some other things. They are already starting at the end of next year. By the end of 2026, it's already in full gear. If the election is 2027 February.
Yeah, 2027, yeah.
It's already in full gear. So we just only have next year and some months in for true governance.
Yeah.
And the first year looks at is wasted. So if President Tinubu wants to get on the mark, I think this is the scorecard for the minister. He should go ahead and just fire.
To be honest,
and we should do this frequently so that we even know where we are going.
So yeah, I was going to say that in terms of the entire exercise, I have to give kudos to this administration. We don't often see this, where appointees are made to be accountable to the people with an opportunity.
No, we saw it in Buhari's administration.
Not in this way, not on this scale, is what I'm saying. We saw some, but not on this scale.
Yeah.
They've held from first year, hit the ground running, and even from the very beginning, the president had demonstrated that he really wanted his appointees to do the work. And so he had appointed Ms. Hadiza Bala Usman to sort of oversee in terms of performances. The big question I'd like to ask is, following this exercise and measuring of KPIs, in the event that a minister is not found to be achieving or doing what they're supposed to be doing, what are the consequences? If what we just have is take a bow and go, present and go, then it's a fruitless exercise. What we want to see, let there be one or two scapegoats who haven't done the work, and as a result of that, there's a cabinet shake-up, and some of them have to leave.
I want to think there will be a cabinet shake-up, because I can see some people seated there with Barra. Maybe they were scoring.
I hope so, because you can score.
Mr. Bayo and Onuga, maybe they were scoring.
You can score and not do anything afterwards.
So, but this one, it's not. Maybe today we'll have some ray of hope.
Yes.
Because it continues
so
today.
There's some standout ministers, I must say, and I'm looking forward, and some of them that people are looking forward to hear what they've done. I had to give kudos to the Minister of Women Affairs. I know that we talked about her actions in recent times, but she's been quite vocal, and she has a lot of work on her hands. She's responsible for about half of the population of Nigeria. The same with Dr. Jamila Ado Ibrahim, who is responsible for over 60% of the population in terms of the youth population of Nigeria. Therefore, you can understand the disappointment and the underwhelming effect of her presentation. In order to cut her some slack, not everyone is a great public speaker, and so she might have some bright ideas, but was not able to articulate, on that level. But what we want to see beyond talk, because there are also some people who can sell ice to the Eskimo, can really talk, but are doing nothing in their ministries. They're doing nothing.
And they don't even know what's happening in their ministry. They don't even know how
so you can come out and
say that a data system has been put in place in their ministry, and they're still asking for 200 billion.
You can come out and say a lot of words without actually any substance to it. But in fairness to her, what we want to see is show working. Let us see the impact. And that's why I love what you said about what is the impact. We can make announcements, but we want to see impact. The reason for the achievement of your ministry is to begin to see its impact on Nigerians. And a leader is only as strong as the team he surrounds himself with. So whilst we want to, talk about the president, the reason why he must critically look at these principal officers and his appointees in his cabinet is that they are the ones who would either make him look good or look bad. And so it's not just about putting people in place, ticking the box, having some known names there. It's about people getting dirty and doing the work. I'm looking forward to seeing the Minister of Industry, Trade and Investment, Dr. Doris Anita Uzoka, because she plays a critical role at this time. I look forward to seeing the Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of Economy. I look forward to Dr. Bosun Tijani, because I think he's done a fine job. And when you look at and listen to the others who are speaking, you'd see that he's actually doing a lot of work. The Minister of Interior is another standout minister. I'd like to hear what he's done. And also his plans.
I think some ministers like Olubomi Tunji will stand out, like Wike.
Like you hate him or love him. Yes.
Hate him or love him, he stood out. I know Olubomi Tunji will stood out because some reforms as regards the passport system and that. It still has some challenges though, but he was going to stand out. Bosun Tijani also will stand out. I mean, we saw the AI conference recently as regards inclusion and things like that.
Absolutely.
So I think some will stand out, but majority, pervasively, apart from Wike yesterday, I'm making a case for the defense, which I think those, we've killed this, we killed that. Yeah, you have that here and there, newspaper.
It wasn't just about killing.
But it's about impact. As we speak today, I thought somebody would have asked them about Banex Plaza. It's still short, I hear. Has it been open? I thought somebody would have asked them about Okwama. The
questions were in. I don't know if they had enough time to ask questions.
These are big 4 parts. But that's it. Nigerians, please watch this. Catch it. Arise is showing it.